Hello everyone, welcome to the 4th Custom Drag Race Tournament. This is the final round, and here is your roster. And one of these people is going to win today. In the very first round of the finals, let's see who will run. It is Sneaky Bob, Issa Khan, Arlo, and Killa Kowalski. Killa currently has the time to beat with 3.04. If someone can beat that today, that'll be quite the impressive feat, but for now, Killa Kowalski takes the first win. Right before this race started, all but one racer in the finalists were undefeated. But now that Killa Kowalski has won this race, another 3 of those racers will not have that distinction. So now Killa Kowalski is not only trying to stay in first, but also trying to beat his own time. And in the second race, it looks like Arlo had the slight edge over Killa, but Killa managed to get a burst of speed somewhere, allowing him to get a second win. Getting a third automatically means progression to the next part of the tournament. Or the next part of the finals, I should say. Yeah, these racers are bound to get a lot closer now that these are the fastest of the fast going up against each other. Killa Kowalski is just looking for a third win here to get another sigh of relief. And so far, they're going down the hill. It looks like Killa had something going, but here comes Arlo taking the win away from him. Now no one out of this group is going to come through this undefeated. Very impressive by Arlo. I want to say out of the 16 races that are here, one will come out of each set of 4, and then those 4 will decide who the ultimate winner is. So Killa Kowalski is still in the best position to move on. Arlo will need to finish in front of Killa Kowalski to keep his hopes of being in this tournament alive, and that's not going to happen. Killa Kowalski gets the win, and thus will enter the top 4. Congratulations to Issa, Sneaky Bob, and Arlo, though, for making it all the way to the finals. And look how close these times are, all off by just about 0.01 or slightly more. But Killa Kowalski takes the first spot in the top 4. And now for the second round, which we'll have Uncle Fokker, Banjo, DeBoom, and Rob Maverick. As the race begins, it looks like Uncle Fokker started off slightly behind, but then suddenly gets a lot faster and gets that first victory. Not quite breaking 3.1, but very close. It looked like he was starting to slow down, and all of a sudden he just sped up significantly. Realizing that if he doesn't get his act together, I guess, then he was going to be out of this tournament. And now for race number 2, they've switched lanes. Let's see if that makes any difference. Here they come yet. Something about Uncle Fokker, once he reaches that flat part of the track, he suddenly just gets a burst of speed out of nowhere that really helps him stay in front of the rest of the pack. But he's able to get the win. And now he's just one away from guaranteeing his spot in the top 4. Here we go. Race number 3. Is Uncle Fokker going to be able to do it? It looks like he will as he gets that burst of speed yet again. So Uncle Fokker will be the one to progress. The other 3 have one more race before their time in this tournament is over. Yeah, from this angle, you can't always tell who's in the lead until they get closer to the finish line. But that can just make it all the more interesting. And apparently, Rob Maverick and D-Boom finished at the same time in second place on that last one. Not that it overly matters at this point, unfortunately for them. But that is not a common occurrence. But Uncle Fokker does get that 4th win, so he will stay undefeated going into the top 4. So we'll have at least 1 out of the 4, possibly 2 more depending on how the next 2 groups go. But congratulations to Uncle Fokker, and a pat on the back to the other 3. And now for the third round, and we will have Rebel Racer, Tebow, Big Cat, and Dex Hendricks. Yeah, some interesting cases here. Dex Hendricks represents Blue Line Racing, who has been an absolute beast in recent tournaments, and they're looking to get another victory here. And we also have Big Cat, who is the only person in these finals who went into it not being undefeated. And they're certainly not now, and the same goes for Rebel and Tebow now. Blue Line Racing is very difficult to beat apparently, especially in recent tournaments. And it looked like Rebel Racer was going to be able to get a win from them. But Rebel slowed down, or maybe Dex sped up or something. Because now Dex Hendricks has 2 consecutive victories. One more and they will be in the top 4. And a 3.24 out of Tebow. That is one of the slower times we've seen as of recent. But the fact that they are in the top 16 is definitely still something to be proud of. And now for this third race, Rebel Racer once again had a slight lead over Dex for just a moment. But once they headed into the flat straightaway, heading towards the finish line, all Dex was doing was speeding up. And he almost beat the record. I think Killer Kowalski still has it, because his time at one point in this tournament was 3.04. But now Dex Hendricks has that 3rd consecutive win, so he will be in the top 4. And he's looking to stay undefeated, but Rebel Racer somehow had a huge lead over them. And it was apparently big enough that even though Dex Hendricks was speeding up, he could not catch him. So not even Dex Hendricks is going to be undefeated by the end of this tournament. But they are moving on, so they will have a chance to redeem themselves to a degree. Now one spot is left to be filled, and it'll be filled by one of these 4, Anita Lee, Tasman, Dusty Miles, and Numbskull. And as the race begins, it looks like Numbskull might have a slight edge. I think they got it. And something off the end of the track just seemed to fall. We're going to have maintenance check in on that. But the victory is Numbskull's, but let's see by how much. He had 3.11, and Anita had 3.13, I think. So very close. Let's see if Numbskull can do it again. Now on the lane closest to the camera, heading towards the finish line. It looked like they were slightly behind, but they got the speed they needed to get the 2nd win. So 2 down, and 1 to go to move on, 2 to go to stay undefeated. So far, only 1 person out of 3 that are moving on is undefeated. Numbskull could make it 2 that are and 2 that are not. They just need to finish in first 2 more times. Switching lanes again, heat number 3. The race begins. They're going down the hill. Numbskull is actually in the back of the pack, but here he comes out of nowhere and grabbing that victory again. Definitely gave some Numbskull fans a scare for a second, but they pulled it out in the end, allowing them to take the final spot in the top 4. Although that is pretty close. We have 2 3.14 times, so they'll both get 5 points. So I don't know if that necessarily guarantees that Numbskull will move on, but it's definitely making it a lot easier. But look at this, Numbskull wasn't able to get that burst of speed this time, and I think he finished in 3rd. Or maybe he tied for 2nd. But that was quite the interesting ending to that. So out of the 4 that are moving on, with Numbskull barely holding on to that spot, only 1 person is still undefeated, and I believe that is Uncle Fokker. But one of these 4 will be your ultimate winner. And so far, it looked like Killer Kowalski was holding on to the lead, but now Dex Hendricks is looking to redeem himself a little bit after losing that undefeated title, and now has 1 victory under their belt. They just need 2 more, and they will be the ultimate winner, causing Blue Line to have another championship under their belt. We're starting to lose track of how many times Blue Line has won. But that just shows how formidable an opponent they are to all the other races around them. And look at this again. Dex Hendricks started off in the back and then just kept speeding up until they got in front of everybody else. That is 2 victories for Dex Hendricks. 1 more, and they will be your champion for this tournament as well. So here we go. This next race could decide it all, potentially. Will Blue Line have another tournament under their belt? Or will somebody take it from them? Here they go. Dex Hendricks gets the lead, gets the win. Ladies and gentlemen, Dex Hendricks, Blue Line Racing, is your 4th custom drag race champion. Nobody is coming out of this tournament undefeated, but Blue Line just keeps stacking up those victories. Now this is just a victory lap for Blue Line, trying to get a sweep if nothing else. And I believe Killer Kowalski, unless something changes here, will walk out of this tournament with the fastest time out of anybody. And yes, that is another victory for Dex Hendricks. That is a sweep along with the championship. So Dex Hendricks, Blue Line Racing, once again on top of the pedestal. People will have to see if they can take him out in the next tournament should Blue Line Racing choose to participate. Congratulations to Dex Hendricks. Thank you all so much for watching. See you for the next tournament.